everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today's video is about the third part of The Wasteland. The previous two parts are already uploaded in the channel and I'll give the links in the description below. So without further ado, let us begin with the lecture. The Fire Sermon. This is the part 3 of The Wasteland. Before we go through the third section, let us quickly revise what we went through in part 1 and part 2. In part 1, everything was related to the earth. Lilacs are out of the dent land, burial, germination, sprouting, all the activities related to earth. In part 2, we have seen everything is related to the air. There is wind gushing at the door, choking the breath with artificial fragrance, and then the wind carrying the sound of the church bells. And the part 3 is about fire, burning. But the question is, what kind of burning? How is it connected to the water of the next part? Before we begin with the text, let us learn about the story of Gautam Buddha and fire sermon. During the time of Buddha, there was this cult of people who worshipped fire. Their leader was Kashyapa. They had this fire emitting dangerous dragons. Buddha went to Kashyapa and said that he wanted to stay at the hut where the dragon would come. It was the room where they kept their sacred fire. Kashyapa considered Buddha as a holy man, but he always thought Buddha was not as holy as himself. He thought that the dragon will surely kill Buddha. But when the dragon arrived, instead of scorching Buddha, the dragon himself was destroyed. The next day was the day of festival. Kashyapa was afraid that if Buddha spoke to the followers of Kashyapa, they would abandon Kashyapa to follow Buddha. Now all through the day, Kashyapa noticed that Buddha had not come to the festival at all. At the end of the day, when Kashyapa asked Buddha the reason for not coming to the festival, Buddha said, "Didn't you want me to stay away from the festival?" Kashyapa thought that man can read the mind, but he is definitely not as holy as himself. Then Buddha told Kashyapa that he understood that Kashyapa was envious of him. Kashyapa realizes his mistake. After that, his followers also came and they started to listen to Buddha. He said that our all senses are burning. The eyes, the ears, taste, smell, and whatever we touch. He said, there is anger, there is ignorance, there is hatred, and as long as the fire finds flammable things upon which it can feed, so long it will burn. And there will be birth, death, decay, grief, lamentation, suffering, despair, and sorrow. Craving is fire. It burns the senses, the things we crave for, and it burns the heart that craves. We are aware of our cravings. We can tell our senses that this is not the way we want to feel. We can get rid of our cravings. The burning stops. And if we can break the link between feeling and craving, then the burning will stop. This breaking of the connection will lead to the cessation of feeling and craving. This will lead to nirvana, the moment when we dissolve into nothingness. So let us look at the text. The river's tent is broken. The last fingers of leaf clutch and sink into the wet bank. The wind crosses the brown land unheard. The nymphs are departed. Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. The river bears no empty bottles, sandwich papers, silk handkerchiefs, cardboard boxes, cigarette ends, or other testimony of summer nights. The nymphs are departed. And their friends, the loitering air of city directors, departed, have left no addresses. So we see that the part 3 begins with the description of a river. The river he describes is Thames, but as Eliot depends heavily on his predecessors, he takes the body of description from some other writer. We see there is this word, river tent is broken. The river tent, like this is the visualizing the river and the trees on the river. These trees touch each other and form shapes like tent. When in autumn the leaves are shed, their canopy is broken. So we have reached autumn. We started with spring, then there is the game of chess. When time was running away, now it is autumn. Do you remember Paradise Lost, Book 1? The image of Vallombrosa? Fallen angels are compared to fallen leaves. So, this very description of the leaves on the river somehow evokes that description from Paradise Lost of fallen angels compared to the fallen leaves. The autumn fall of leaves is somehow related to the choking of the path of the river. Then we see the nymphs are departed. This is somehow the reminder of Prufrock. He wants to listen to the song of the mermaids, but he drowns. The modern world won't sustain his fantasy. Nymphs were the various daughters of the river gods, and they used to be the guardian spirits. It was believed that they presided the water bodies and will inspire anybody who would drink from them. Also, it is believed that they had prophetic or oracular power. They could confer upon humans the gift of poetry. But the nymphs have departed. Then we see the line, Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. This is taken from Spenser's Prothalamion. It is a prenuptial song. It was written to celebrate the engagement of Elizabeth and Catherine Somerset, the daughters of the Earl of Somerset. In the poem of Spenser, the description was full of optimism and positive vibes. The description was about the beauty of the river Thames. The river is not described in a similar way. Here he gives a very strange kind of description of the river. He says that these things are not there in the river, which means during summertime these things are found in the river. What are the things? Empty bottles, sandwich papers, silk handkerchiefs, cardboard boxes, cigarette ends. These things are used by the men and women who take the fancy cruises. So when people go on cruise and they leave without changing addresses, it means they don't want any lasting commitment. So all these people having fun time on River Thames, they do not want to continue any long-term relationship. They are not comfortable with the idea of loyalty. So there is a degradation of status when it comes to the nymphs, a degradation in status when it comes to love. It is my very personal opinion that this is very valid in today's time. We have so many terms for relationships: breadcrumbing, benching, situationship. So, these very lofty ideas of love, they have all degraded. I do not know, maybe our emotional vocabulary has changed. Let us continue with the poem. By the waters of Leman, I sat down and wept. Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. Sweet Thames, run softly, for I speak not loud or long. But at my back, in a cold blast, I hear the rattles of the bones, the chuckles spread from ear to ear. So we see that the speaker said that he is sitting down and weeping. There is mourning. The poet is not capable of offering a long song, any epic anymore. He is also suffering from the same kind of lack of commitment. I feel that we also have this lack of commitment. We no longer watch long form of content anymore. We find we get bored. We are just scrolling reels on social media. If the 3 seconds of the reels are interesting, we continue, or else we just scroll away. The lack of commitment. Anyway, coming back to the text, let's see the word layman. Layman is a lake in Geneva. Eliot wrote most of the wasteland on its shore. But this line was not about layman. The Jews, when away from the homeland, were nostalgic about the homeland. They sang this song: by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yeah, we wept, when we remember Zion. Here we have an I in the poem. Who is this I? We presume it's Tiresias. He is weeping about the past which failed to continue with its grandeur. Then we have this line, but at my back in the cold blast I hear. The narrator can only think about the curse of mortality that is chasing him, the rattle of bones, the chuckle from year to year. This line is an echo from Andrew Marvell's To His Coy Mistress, a poem about celebrating craving. This is parodied in this line. In Andrew Marvell's poem, it is mentioned, in my back I hear death's winged chariot. Alright, let us continue with the poem. A rat crept softly through the vegetation, dragging its slimy belly on the bank, while I was fishing in the dull canal. On a winter evening, round behind the gas house, musing upon the king my brother's wreck, and on the king my brother's death before him. White naked bodies on the low damp ground, and the bones cast in a little low dry garret, rattled by the rat's foot only, ear to ear. So, we have the description of a rat. The description of the riverbank continues. The rat is the common symbol of decay, degeneration. It gives off the air of despair. There is this man who is sitting beside the river and is fishing. The moment the expression fishing comes, we understand that it is definitely linked to the Fisher King, the entire kingdom getting affected due to the weakness of the Fisher King. Eliot combines the idea of Fisher King and the legend of the Holy Grail with Shakespeare's expression from The Tempest. In The Tempest, the lines goes like, sitting on a bank, weeping again, the king my father wreck, the music crept by me upon the waters, allaying both their fury and my passion with its sweet air. Here we have a person who calls himself a fisherman. He is talking about his brother, father, all of whom have succumbed to death. So, the idea of mortality as the only reality is established one more time. Let's read on. The sound of horns and motors, which shall bring Sweeney to Mrs. Porter in the spring. Oh, the moon shone bright on Mrs. Porter and on her daughter. They washed their feet in soda water. Et o ses voice d'enfant, enchant dans la coupole. Tweet, 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 jug, 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 jug. So rudely forced, Tereo. So we see the sound of horns and motors. This is a further degradation of marvel. He is talking about motors because this is the modern age. The possibility of grandeur and grand imagery is gone. Several images used by Marvel resonate with the wasteland. Eternity is a desert. The woman's honor is turned into dust, and the man's lust into ashes. These horns and motors do something very mundane. It brings a person called Sweeney to someone named Mrs. Porter. Eliot created this character Sweeney in one of his earlier poems, Sweeney Amongst the Nightingales. Sweeney represents the insensitive modern men. Sweeney and Mrs. Porter have a kind of mutual understanding. Probably Sweeney has come for Mrs. Porter's daughter. In any way, things are kept very vague. But this is understood that this is about sexual relationship between Sweeney and any of the Porters, either the mother or the daughter or both. This shows an inherent lack of commitment, a celebration of craving that Buddha will seriously condemn. Mrs. Porter is the subject of a popular Australian song of the early 1900s. Eliot is overdoing allusions because he is not limiting himself. He is also alluding to John Day's Parliament of Bees. The lines go like, when of the sudden, listening you shall hear a noise of horns and haunting, which shall bring Actaeon to Dinah in the spring, where all shall see her naked skin. Actaeon and Dinah from Greek mythology. Actaeon is a hunter who went hunting and accidentally he saw Diana taking bath. She cursed him and turned him into a deer to be hunted down by his own dogs. Sweeney here is a modern day Actaeon and Mrs. Porter is modern day Diana. The degradation is explored here. The modern day Diana washes her feet with soda water instead of divine water. Fall in grandeur, right? Here, I would like to mention the ordeal of bitter water. In Hebrew Bible, this was a Jewish trial by ordeal administered by a priest in the tabernacle to a wife whose husband suspected her of adultery. But the husband had no witness to make a formal case. Then he would bring her to the priest. He would give her something called sotha water, and she had to drink it. If she is really unfaithful, her belly would swell and she would die. This sotha water is linked to the idea of adultery, a relationship not sanctioned by religion or society. Then we have lines in some other language, et oses. So these are the children singing in the dome. In the poem Parsifal, the poet Paul Verlaine, who writes of the deeds of Percival, who was one of the knights who went in search of the Holy Grail to restore the Fisher King. There he has to resist all kinds of sexual temptation to make himself eligible to drink from the Holy Grail. This line is from the end of the poem. So we see that the culture has fallen very low. The river is tainted, the protective layer is gone. The scene in front of him was polluted just like the river. The nightingale sound cannot be interpreted anymore. The sensitivity is gone. Music is gone. The jug, 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 jug gives the idea of an engine vibrating with lifelessness. Let us read on. Unreal city. Under the brown fog of a winter noon, Mr. Eugenides, the Smyrna merchant, unshaven with a pocket full of currants, sees London. Documents at sight. Asked me in demotic French to luncheon at the Cannon Street Hotel, followed by a weekend at the Metropole. So we are back to the unreal city. So the focus has shifted to another character. The character is called Mr. Eugenides. He is a merchant. Remember the merchant from the tarot deck? We will have these characters all popping up throughout the poem who are listed in Madame Sosostris's spread of cards. If you have not watched the video of Waste and Part 1, I will give the link in the I here. So this merchant is unshaven, munching pocket full of currants. So we see CIF London, that is cost, insurance and freight. International commerce terms these are. So he is a very official looking person, though he is unshaven, not looking very professional. He speaks in demotic French. So demotic French is an informal expression. We have assumed that our narrator is male. Mr. Eugenides is definitely a man. This is probably an invitation about a weekend stay at a hotel. So two men engaging in sexual activity is definitely not sanctioned by the Christian code of conduct. Back then, society was not ready to accept this. So the weekend signifies a short time. So Eliot is pointing out the secret meeting places of the homosexuals. Homosexuality or heterosexuality, that doesn't matter. The modern time made love a temporary contract. Previous reference of not leaving any address, remember? This is the temporary celebration of carnality, physicality, and no lasting commitment. Remember, I talked about the various terms for relationships? Similar. Let us read on with the poem. At the violet hour, when the eyes and back turn upward from the desk, when the human engines wait like a taxi throbbing waiting, I, Tiresias, though blind, throbbing between two lives, old man with wrinkled female breasts, can see at the violet hour, the evening hour that strives homeward and brings the sailor home from sea. The typist's home at tea time, clears her breakfast, lights her stove, lays out food in tins. Out of the window, perilously spread her drying combinations touched by the sun's last rays. On the divan are piled at night her bed, stockings, slippers, camisoles, and stays. Let's ponder upon this phrase, violet hour. Here he mentions human engine. Remember the chuk 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 chuk. At the end of the day, the human being is waiting like an engine, again dehumanized. Finally, we have the name of Tiresias. Why does Eliot mention Tiresias so late? That's the question. The poem runs for 433 lines and Tiresias is mentioned exactly at the middle. It is as if Tiresias is at the center of all experiences are revolving around him. It is as if he is observing standing in the middle of a wheel. What does he observe? He says that he is throbbing between two lives because, on one hand, he knows what it means to be a man, then he knows what it means to be a woman. Just like Sibyl, who is growing older and cannot die, Tiresias is also not granted eternal youth. So, this is a time of homecoming. So beautiful, but it is also not so glorious homecoming of someone else. Who is that someone else? The typist. She is a woman. She comes back home. She has not left her room in tidy way. So she comes and clears her breakfast. She is not preparing any food. She is eating processed food. Her life is measured in coffee spoon. That is kind of life. She is eating from tins. Although the words are grand here, the content is meager. Talking about her garments drying out in the sun. All her clothes, undergarments are scattered. It is a messy room, not a clean and proper room. Let's see what happens next. I, Tiresias, old man with wrinkled dugs, perceived the scene and foretold the rest. I too awaited the expected guest. He, the young man carbuncular, arrives, a small house agent's clerk, with one bold stare, one of the low on whom assurance sits, as a silk hat on a Bradford millionaire. The time is now propitious. As he guesses the meal is ended, she is bored and tired. Endeavors to engage her in caresses which still are unreproved if undesired. Flushed and decided, he assaults at once. Exploring hands encounter no defense. His vanity requires no response and makes a welcome of indifference. And I, Tiresias, have forsuffered all, enacted on this same divan or bed. I, who have sat by thieves below the wall and walked among the lowest of the dead, bestows one final patronizing kiss and gropes his way, finding the stairs unlit. Let's look at the word dugs. He is using very colloquial words. This word stands for breasts. Tiresias is looking at the scene from the third person point of view. He said that foretold the rest. So, future narrated as present. He is telling us in a way as if this is actually happening. He said there is a he who is a guest. He has arrived. He has all these marks on his face, not very pleasant to look at. He comes, he is a clerk. He comes to meet the typist. It is said that he acts as a Bradford billionaire. So, Bradford is an English woolen manufacturing town, thrived during the Great War. Eliot respectfully had financial dealings with local millionaire from Bradford. Though the guest is just a clerk, the attitude is that of a billionaire. Not just any kind of billionaire, but a Bradford billionaire. People who got rich during the war at the cost of humanity. He mentions the time is now propitious. This is the reminder of hurry up, it's time from the game of chess. This is the time for having a sexual encounter. The lovemaking because she has nothing to do. Just as a prelude to his action, he tries to set in the mood. He does not have the patience. She does not have the desire. The woman is least interested. Usually, when people engage in sexual encounter, they try to understand how they are affecting the other person. Because if you are in love with someone, it matters. But this man is definitely not in love with the typist. He does not care whether he is providing her some pleasure or not. Tiresias is looking at this scene. So this is the reminder. He is blind because he said that the women get greater pleasure. He is seeing that this woman is not even resisting. So the idea of pleasure does not exist for this woman. The woman is indifferent, unaffected, but the man has come only for his own enjoyment and satisfaction, and he does not even care. So Tiresias at that moment feels empathy with that woman. He feels that he is suffering through that. Tiresias is none other than any random human who lived a life. Tiresias is thinking of whatever he saw in the past. So in Greek literature, we have Tiresias coming now and then. We have allusions of prophetic time in ancient Thebes. He used to stand against walls and talk about the perish of empire. Allusion to Odyssey or the Inferno, in both of which Tiresias shows up in the underworld to help Odysseus and Dante. Here we see a fall of grandeur. Tiresias, who was assigned these glamorous parts, is now assigned this room of the typist. Is that because the room of the typist has become the lowest circle of hell? That is something to think about. Then what happens? The man leaves. The stairs are not lit. He gropes his way. Gropes means he tries to feel his way. So we see there is all pervading blindness. It is not that the typist is a victim and the man is attacking. He himself is blinded. No matter one is attacking or being attacked, one is blinded. Blindness is only reality. Let's see what happens after that. She turns and looks a moment in the glass, hardly aware of her departed lover. Her brain allows one half-formed thought to pass. Well, now that's done. I'm glad it's over. When lovely woman stoops to folly and paces about her room again, alone. She smooths her hair with automatic hand and puts a record on the gramophone. So the typist is not even aware that her lover has left. She is not even interested. The line is there, when lovely woman stoops. This is a reference to Goldsmith's The Vicar of Wakefield. Here, there is a song about a woman who is seduced by a man and abandoned. The song goes like, when lovely woman stoops to folly and finds too late that men betray, what charm can soothe her melancholy? What art can wash her guilt away? The only art her guilt to cover, to hide her shame from every eye, to give repentance to her lover and wring his bosom is to die. The situation here is very much similar. What is this typist doing? She smooths her hair with automatic hand. So this is a reminder of engine, passionless and mechanical. Humans are continuously dehumanized. Then let's see what she does. She puts a record on the gramophone. The music crept by me upon the waters, and along the strand, up Queen Victoria Street. Oh city, city, I can sometimes hear beside a public bar in Lower Thames Street the pleasant whining of a mandolin and a clatter and chatter from within, where fishermen lounge at noon and the walls of Magnus Myrtle hold inexplicable splendor of Ionian white and gold. The river sweats, oil and tar, the barges drift, with the turning tide, red sails wide to leeward swing on the heavy spar. The barges wash drifting logs down Greenwich Reach, past the Isle of Dogs, la la la, la la la. So we see he is saying, the music crept by me. This is a line from The Tempest. Ferdinand uses this expression exactly. Tiresias is thinking that the music of the typist, the music of indifference creeping through the entire city. Then he feels sorry for the city. He is now talking about random bars, random places where fishermen gather and enjoy music. Eliot wrote, the interior of St. Magnus Martyr is, to my mind, one of the finest among Wren's interiors. If the world is held together by religious beliefs, people will feel connected. This was the idea of Dover Beach. Magnus Martyr, a church which is a beautifully decorated one where people can perfectly enjoy aestheticism. So, Tiresias is talking about how people can be capable of being dehumanized. Then he says, the river sweats. The song of the Thames daughter. This song is based on the song of the Rhine daughters in Richard Wagner's opera where Rhine is described. Suddenly the lines get creepily short. Eliot is redoing the parallelism. He is giving the image of pollution, of degradation and despair. The river is sweating. The humans are presented as dehumanized objects. The river is presented as a person. But the music continues. Then there is a cut scene. Cut scene 2. Elizabeth and Leicester. Beating oars. The stern was formed, a gilded shale, red and gold. The brisk swell rippled both shores. Southwest wind carried downstream the pearl of bells, white towers, Vellilalalalia. So the scene now cuts to a man and a woman enjoying a boat trip on Thames. She is Queen Elizabeth I. A beautifully decorated cruise boat, but the sentences are still short. Who is Leicester? Leicester is Robert Dudley, the first Earl of Leicester. Alvaro de la Cuadra, a Spanish diplomat and churchman, was along with them. He wrote a letter to Philip of Spain. The letter goes like, "In the afternoon, we were in a barge watching the games on the river. The Queen was alone with Lord Robert and myself on the poop. When they began to talk nonsense and went so far that Lord Robert at the end said, as I was on the spot, there was no reason why they should not be married, if the Queen pleased." So Robert had proposed to Elizabeth and she did not agree. Another failed relationship here. In part 2, we have seen the collapse of marital relationship. And part 3 is about those relationships which are out of wedlock, not providing any lasting commitment. Extramarital relationships that burn with cravings and not fulfillment. Then we see trams and dusty trees, Highbury bore me, Richmond and Kew undid me. By Richmond I raised my knees, spine on the floor of a narrow canoe. My feet are at Moorgate, and my heart under my feet. After the event he wept. He promised a new start. I made no comment. What should I resent? On magnet sands, I can connect nothing with nothing. The broken fingernails of dirty hands, many people, humble people who expect nothing. La la. To Carthage then I came, burning, 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 burning. O Lord, thou pluckest me out. O Lord, thou pluckest burning. We see trams and dusty tree. Is this Elizabeth? Not clearly mentioned. It is a woman talking about her experiences in Highbury, Richmond, and Kew. In all these places, she had encountered men but did not encounter love. She said, undid me. Sexual connotations are here in the image of someone lying knees apart in a canoe. Dante describes a woman, Pia Tolomei, who describes how she dies. She was killed on the order of her husband. The lines go like, remember me, I who am la Pia, Siena med, Moderna unmed me. The same kind of lines we see here. From the Inferno typist room, we are now in Purgatorio. When does the heart goes to hell, or you are stamping on your heart, you are killing your own emotion. Then it is said after the event. The event of sexual encounter. The event caused the male to weep and want a new start. The trauma echoing of Eliot's own relationship with his first wife. She says, why should she resent? What should she resent? She has never expected anything from life. So Tiresias is bombarding with these images and he can connect nothing with nothing. Is this line that simple? Then we see Margate Sands. This is the place where Eliot was recovering from serious nervous breakdown. He drafted entire part 3 here. He thought that he will show his wife and if she approves, he will go on with the publication. So nothing gives a different kind of revelation. Incapable of connecting anything with anything. But he is not saying that. He is saying nothing with nothing. So the final aim of Buddha's philosophy is to achieve nothingness. The image in front of Tiresias, the fragmented images of degraded carnality, This is also nothing. The typist feels nothing. This woman feels nothing. Elizabeth felt nothing. Mr. Eugenides was interested in only one weekend. The nymphs have departed, so there is nothing. There is nothing of Buddha. Only when Eliot reached the lowest point in psychosis, he could finally understand that nothing not be connected to nothing. Once one realizes the futility of desire, when one showcases and studies like in this part, then you should understand that there is nothing. Therefore, I should not be affected by it. Then only I can achieve nirvana, the cessation of being, the accomplishment of nothingness. So, on Margate Sand, he could connect the experience of the typist, the experience of Elizabeth, experience of this woman whose feet are at Margate. Because it does not matter whether you are in the past or in the future, relationship has degraded, has become nothing. Broken fingernails of dirty hands. The fragments of dirty hands carries the legacy of dirt. People expect nothing as we don't have any expectation anymore. Then we have the music coming in again. La La, based on Wagner's opera again. So the fragment of Vei La La. Then it continues to Carthage I came. Here we see there is no quotation mark. Someone is talking directly to us. This is a line from St. Augustine's Confessions. Carthage is a city in modern day Tunisia. It is described by St. Augustine as a cauldron of unholy love. He said how much he was tempted by physical desire. Then he came to Carthage. Now he was affected by the city. Carthage was a site of burning. Burning. This burning is from the fire sermon. In Carthage, everything was burning. The skin, the touch, the eye and the sight, the ear and the sound, the sense organs and the sensations were consuming him. This is where Eliot tries to bring together the Christian mythology and the Buddhist philosophy. Because in both there is a warning against the submission to carnality. We see the prayer, O Lord, straight out of the Book of Confessions. St. Augustine felt that even after being St. Augustine, he was very much tempted by physical desire. He scared that he would burn in hell. Burning. This section ends with this word. Is this hellfire? If we are to take Buddha's words, we have to understand that hellfire is not waiting for us after our death. It is there very much, already burning us. The sooner we realize it, the faster we reach water. Buddha's sermon, Augustine's confessions, all linked to burning. Buddha said that when the dragon comes to you, you can actually burn your desire down instead of burning yourself. Just like burial is a process of rebirth, burning is a process of purgation. What about the game of chess then? The movement of pawn, advancement to become a queen, the moment of regeneration. It can be anything, only you have to endure that path, because the end always promises new beginning. Before I end this section, I would like to talk about one song which is dedicated to Lord Shiv, and the song goes like, शिव समा रहा है मुझ में और मैं शून्य हो रहा, क्रोध को लोभ को मैं भस्म कर रहा. I feel there is some connection with that song as well as the Buddha's philosophy of burning, the burning down of desire. So, with that, I'm ending this lecture and keep an eye for the next part, Death by Water. Till then, keep studying. Thank you. Bye bye.